everyone, welcome back to my class. This is Rumana Ali. I hope you all are doing well. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the action of angiotensin II. Before we learn about this topic, let us recall the last topic of our previous class so that we can learn about the action of angiotensin II. So in the last session, we have discussed that when the blood pressure is low in the systemic circulation, then what happens to the blood pressure in the kidneys, that is especially in the nephrons. So when the BP is low, then the blood will move into the glomerulus with a low speed, and then it enters into the Bowman's capsule, and then it reaches the tubule called proximal convoluted tubule. When the blood passes with low pressure in the proximal convoluted tubule, at that time whatever the salts that are present in our blood, that is absorbed by the blood. Once the blood is absorbed, all the salt molecules which are present, all the ions which are present in the blood, then the blood becomes, the filtrate which enters into the PCT, it becomes saltless. When that saltless solution enters into the DCT, distal convoluted tubule, then there are some specialized cells present in the DCT. We call that cells as macula densa. Macula densa are salt lovers. They need the filtrate to be salty, but if they find that filtrate saltless, then they send the signals to the specialized cells of the efferent arteriole, and we call that cells as JG cells, juxtaglomerular cells. So macula densa, when they send the signals to the juxtaglomerular cells, they become activated or they become active, and then they releases a hormone called renin, R-E-N-I-N. This is an enzyme which is released by juxtaglomerular cells. Once this enzyme is released, this enzyme flows into the blood. When it reaches the liver contains an inactive enzyme, and that inactive substance is called as angiotensinogen. Renin is an enzyme which helps in activating the substance called angiotensinogen. So renin acts upon angiotensinogen. This angiotensinogen can be converted into an active form, that is angiotensin I. This angiotensin I can be converted into angiotensin II because angiotensin I is not more active. To make angiotensin I more active, in the lungs, one enzyme is found again, and that enzyme is an angiotensin converter enzyme, ACE we can say. So ACE is an enzyme which is found in our lungs. That enzyme acts on A1, angiotensin I, and angiotensin I can be converted into angiotensin II, which is an active form. Once the angiotensin II forms, the action of angiotensin II starts. So what is the main action? What is the main function of this angiotensin II? So the main purpose of the angiotensin II is to increase the blood pressure. The blood pressure can get increases by the action of angiotensin II. This is the first function of angiotensin II. And the next function is it acts as a vasoconstrictor. Angiotensin II, it acts as a vasoconstrictor. So this angiotensin II flows into the blood, and when the blood reaches the glomerulus of the nephron, then this angiotensin II start its function. As it is a vasoconstrictor, it start the constriction of efferent arteriole, and we know that efferent arteriole has lesser diameter when compared to the efferent arteriole. So when the angiotensin constrict the efferent arteriole, the diameter gets lesser and lesser, and then the blood cannot flow easily into the efferent arteriole. And once the blood cannot flow into the efferent arteriole due to its constriction, then automatically the blood pressure gets increases. As the blood is not getting the way to flow, the blood pressure in the glomerulus start increasing. In this way, the blood pressure becomes high by the action of angiotensin II. This is the second thing. And angiotensin II is an enzyme. So the main purpose of the angiotensin II is to increase the BP. First thing that we talked about angiotensin II is it acts as a vasoconstrictor. When the angiotensin II reaches the efferent arteriole, it starts the constriction of efferent arteriole, due to which the blood pressure in the glomerulus increases. In this way, the blood pressure becomes high due to the action of angiotensin 2. The next thing that it is going to do is it helps in releasing a hormone from the kidneys, and that hormone is aldosterone. So if this is a kidney, on the top of the kidney one gland is present, and that gland is adrenal gland. This gland is responsible to release the hormone called aldosterone. Once the angiotensin 2 reaches the adrenal gland, it stimulates the gland to release the hormone called aldosterone. Now let us see what this aldosterone is going to do to increases the blood pressure when the BP becomes low in the systemic circulation. So as the BP becomes low, the GFR, glomerular filtration rate, and NFP, net filtration pressure, both of them gets decreases. So to increase the GFR, to increase the NFP, all these things are going to happen. The action of angiotensin 2 is very important to increases the GFR and also to increases the NFP. And the normal GFR is 125 milliliter per minute, and normal net filtration pressure is 10 mmHg. So this is the normal GFR and NFP. If it becomes low, then the angiotensin 2 start its action in order to make it high. Let us see the action of aldosterone now. So once the aldosterone is released into the blood, it flows into the blood, and when that aldosterone, which is released from the adrenal gland, flows into the blood, when it reaches the proximal convoluted tubule, then it enters into the cells of the proximal convoluted tubule, and inside the cells nucleus is present, and in that nucleus genes are found. So aldosterone is a hormone which is responsible to activate the gene of the cells which are found in the proximal convoluted tubule. Once the gene gets activated by the action of aldosterone, that gene initiates the activation of a pump called sodium potassium pump. It activates a pump, that is sodium potassium pump. This sodium potassium pump is activated by the gene. So when it gets activated, the sodium which is present in the lumen of the PCT, it can be sent out into the interstitial fluid. When the 3 sodium ions are removed out of this sodium potassium pump, in turn 2 potassium ions would enter into the cells of the PCT. This is how the entry and exit of ions takes place with the help of sodium potassium pump. And one basic rule is there in the biology that we need to remember always, and that concept is whenever the ions move, the water will also move along with the ions. So water is an ion lover. So whenever the ions move to the other place, the water will also go behind the ions. That is the basic concept. So here the sodium and potassium are the ions. As the sodium is moving out into the interstitial fluid along with the ions, the water content which is present in the lumen, that will also move out of the PCT. This is how the water, when it enters into the blood, the volume of the blood gets increases, and in turn the blood pressure will also becomes high. So this is the action of aldosterone. Now when this angiotensin 2 reaches the brain, when it reaches the kidney, stimulates the gland, and that gland releases a hormone called aldosterone, and we have studied about the action of aldosterone. But when this angiotensin 2 reaches our brain, then it stimulates the gland which is present in our brain, and that gland is pituitary gland. When it stimulates the pituitary gland, the stimulation releases a hormone called ADH. The other name for ADH hormone is vasopressin. So vasopressin or ADH is a hormone that is released by the pituitary gland which is found in our brain, and once the vasopressin is released into the blood, this vasopressin, this ADH hormone, when it reaches the DCT of the nephron, when it enters into the DCT of the nephron, distal convoluted tubule of the nephron, then it forms some pores which are permeable to water. Water can move easily into the distal convoluted tubule and into the collecting duct, as it is permeable to water. The water can move easily into these tubes. So these are called as aquaporins. So vasopressin is a hormone that stimulates the production of aquaporins. It helps to form the aquaporins in distal convoluted tubule and also in the collecting duct. Now the role of aquaporins is it is very permeable to the water. So the water which is present in the interstitial fluid, it can enter into the DCT as well as in the collecting duct through these aquaporins. So vasopressin is a hormone that forms the aquaporins in the distal convoluted tubule and also in the collecting duct. So the water which is present in the distal convoluted tubule and also in the collecting duct, that water can comes out easily into the interstitial fluid. So the water will move out through these aquaporins from the distal convoluted tubule and also from the collecting duct. When this water enters into the interstitial fluid, ultimately the volume of the blood becomes high, and as soon as the volume of the blood becomes high, the blood pressure will also be high. The blood pressure will also get increases. In this way, all these hormones which are released by the action of angiotensin II helps in increasing the glomerular filtration rate, and ultimately the blood pressure will also be high due to the action of all these hormones. So let us recall what all the hormones are included, what all the hormones are required to increase the glomerular filtration rate. So here firstly, when the BP is low, at that time one hormone is released by the juxtaglomerular cell, and that hormone is renin. So this renin is a hormone which acts on the substance angiotensinogen, and it breaks that angiotensinogen into angiotensin II. Now this angiotensin II is a substance which activates two more hormones in order to increase the GFR, and that two hormones are, one is aldosterone, which is released by the adrenal gland of our kidneys, and the other one is ADH, which is released by the pituitary gland of our brain. So here this forms a system, and we call that system as RAS. R is for renin, A is for aldosterone, and another A is for ADH, and S is for system. So RAS system is a system that helps to increases the GFR, that helps to make our BP high. This is what happens in the nephron of our kidney when the blood pressure becomes low. So we have seen that RAS is a system which consists of different hormones, and that hormones are responsible to increase our blood pressure. But our heart does not like high blood pressure. Once the blood pressure becomes high, now the role of atrial natriuretic factor starts. So here atrial natriuretic factor can also be written as ANF. So ANF is a substance which is released by our heart, and that factor acts as a vasodilator. The function of ANF is quite opposite to that of RAS. It will oppose this RAS. The function which is carried out by the RAS is going to happen in an opposite manner by this ANF. So in the RAS, we have seen that the hormones, they are vasoconstrictors. They constrict the efferent arteriole in order to increase the blood pressure. But here, this ANF is a vasodilator. It acts in an opposite manner. Aldosterone is a hormone which is present as RAS system. This hormone stimulates the action of a pump called sodium potassium pump, right? But here, when the sodium potassium pump acts and when the sodium ions are moved out of this renal tubule, when they are entering into the interstitial fluid, at that time this ANF becomes activated by the heart. Once the heart activates the ANF, that ANF is a factor which comes to the nephron, and then it starts its action. The action of ANF is to add up the sodium ions. When the sodium ions are added up in the urine, the volume of the urine gets increases, and ultimately the blood pressure becomes low. So because of the action of RAS and ANF, RAS is a system which acts to increase the blood pressure, but ANF is a factor which acts to decrease the blood pressure. The role of both these things, RAS and ANF, ultimately normals the blood pressure. The blood pressure gets normal by the action of RAS and ANF. This is how the blood pressure becomes normal by the action of these two factors. One is atrial natriuretic factor and the other one is RAS. RAS is nothing but the hormones renin, aldosterone, ADH system. So the action of ANF includes, it increases the sodium ion concentration in our urine and it increases the volume of urine by which the GFR gets decreases. So the increase in the GFR and then decrease in the GFR maintains the normal blood pressure. So this is about the RAS and ANF factor. In the next session, we'll discuss about the other topics in the lesson, excretory products and their elimination. That's all for today. Meet you in next class. Thank you.